They are requested.
मैडम स्टार्ट द क्लास लाइव पे है आप
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, students. This is Afreen Sultana, presently working as PGT Bioscience in Vangara, TSRJC, Vangara. A warm welcome to first year botany class. Today you are going to have a beginning of first unit, diversity in the living world. And under this, you are going to learn about the importance of living organisms, how these living organisms are classified, how they are named, and how they are categorized in particular taxons. You are also going to learn about the scope of botany. So let us get into the class. So here we go with our first class in botany. This unit is very important, children. Diversity in the living world. Diversity in the living world means variety of living organisms exist on this planet, and we must know how these living organisms are categorized, on what criteria they are categorized, and how they are going to interact with each other. And in this particular botany subject, this chapter is very important for any botany student to know. So the living world, when we enter into this topic, first of all, we have to question ourselves, what is living? When we question ourselves what is living, then we get several answers. Several answers like a living will be having some growth, some reproduction, some metabolism. Metabolism that you have learned in your earlier classes, such as digestion, excretion, respiration, response to stimuli, all these comes under a living organism feature. These are the characteristic features, okay. But all these characteristic features are going to define a living organism. Defining exactly a living organism is important. For defining exactly a living organism, we have to identify, we have to clearly study about each and every category. Like here we can see growth. Growth, generally, growth is a characteristic feature of any living organism. We see growth at cellular level. You know that all plants, they grow by cell division. They are multicellular organisms and continuously throughout their life they are growing. How they are able to grow continuously? In your class note you have learned the meristematic tissue is responsible. The meristematic tissue which is going to help in continuous division of the cells. The meristematic cell is having the capability of dividing the cells. Frequently the cell is going to increase in size and dividing to two daughter cells. So in this manner, it is going to increase and the number of cells are going to increase and increase for every cell division. Further, the increase can be seen. Increase in number of cells taking place. When increase in cell number is taking place, automatically we can consider the mass of the cell or the organism mass or the weight of the, in simple terminology, weight of the organism is going to increase. So if we see unicellular organisms, also if you take an example of an yeast cell, for example, it is an cell, it is microscopic, it is going to give a bud. Before giving a bud, first of all, it has to increase in size. After increasing in size, only it is going to give a small bud for reproduction purpose. And some of the cytoplasm, some of the nucleus material is shifted here in this bud. And this bud is also going to increase a bit, then it is going to separate from the parent cell. So in this manner, we can see even in the unicellular organisms like fungi or bacteria by binary fission, it is undertaking this feature. This feature and multicellular organisms cells will divide and increase in number. Plants, animals, all these are increasing in number because of the growth of the cell is taking place. And where you are seeing the growth is taking place from inside. The cytoplasmic matter is going to increase in content, then only it will divide. Then only again it will further increase in cytoplasm content internally and it is giving rise to mass of cells. So this is clear about living organisms, what we have seen. But Really, this growth is restricted to living organisms. If we question, then we end up with some answer or doubts like non-living. Non-living objects like mountains. Mountains are also growing. And how they are growing? Mountains are growing every year. The dust particles which are getting accumulated on the surface area externally is increasing the size of the mountain, which was very small. So here we can say that growth is not restricted to only living. Growth can also be seen in non-living. That's why growth is not the defining feature of living. So we cannot say the growth particular term is going to be the defining property of living organisms. So let us move on and check out some other characteristic features like reproduction. Yeah, it is very important and interesting. Important because the continuation of race is because of the reproduction characteristic. And here you are able to see how the cats, dogs, and cow, buffalo, sheep, or human beings, how they are reproducing. They are reproducing because they are able to produce the gametes and they are giving birth to their offspring or the next progeny, which are going to resemble more or less to the parents. Okay, so not only these multicellular organisms, but also the fungi. Fungi, which is fungi, you can see fungi is going to have sporangium, wherein spores are going to form. And when these spores, when they are scattered by the bursting of sporangia, these are going to germinate and they are going to develop as a new individual. So, in multicellular fungi also, spore formation is taking place. Our yeast and hydra, they reproduce by budding. But when we think and recall, there are certain organisms they are unable to reproduce. That means they are having fertility problem. They are infertile. In humans, some males and females are infertile, means unable to produce the gametes, unable to give rise to their next progeny, and that is occurring naturally. That means reproduction is not occurring in certain living organisms. Not only humans but also animals like mules and hennies. You can see in the mules and hennies, what you are saying, mule is nothing but it is a cross. It is a cross between male donkey and female horse. In nature, it occurs, not in captivity. This male donkey and female horse, they are going to cross it and they are going to give this mule. This mule is sterile, means unable to give rise to next generation. So these mules are used in mountains generally by soldiers for carrying the loads. They are sterile. And hennies also the same thing. Hennies are also infertile. Hennies are also a cross. These are also cross between donkey and horse only. And we can say that in reproduction, worker bees, they are also infertile. Worker bees are nothing but the bees which are collecting the honey. They are connecting the honey or nectar and storing in the beehive. They are called worker bees. They are sterile. They are unable to mate with the queen bee. Only the drones, male bees, are going to mate with the female bee, and the female bee is going to lay the eggs. That means these worker bees, they are infertile. That's why we cannot consider reproduction as a key feature or a defining property of living organisms. So here, growth and reproduction both are rejected. Even though these features are seen in human beings, growth and reproduction or living organisms, they cannot be considered as defining property of living. Now we are moving to response to stimulus. Here in response to stimulus, this is a common feature commonly seen in all living organisms. Maybe it is small unicellular organism or multi-celled organisms. They are going to have this response to stimulus. And you can see here clearly the touch me not plant, Mimosa pudica. This touch me not plant, it is going to respond. How it is going to respond? To the touch. It is going to respond to the touch, and the water which is present is going to react with the touch, and the leaves are going to fold. After a few minutes, again the leaves are going to get back to their original position. This is all because of response to stimulus. Response to stimulus is nothing but being aware of the environment. Where are you? What is happening surrounding you? You must be cautious. And in short, we can say irritability property. This irritability property is nothing but you can see the atom. When the atom is moving, and when we touch the atom, what happens? It stops moving. It stops the movement. That means it is exhibiting irritability property. And not only that, even for example, if I am writing something and somebody has passed in front of me, then I can feel that someone has passed in front of me, even though I am busy writing something in a book. That means I am aware of what is happening in my surrounding premises, in my external environment. So here I am cautious, and particularly human beings are self cautious, and this cautiousness is nothing but the response to stimulus. So we can see only and only the response to stimulus in living organisms, and it is the defining property. So what else is a defining property? We'll check out once again by seeing another property, that is cellular organization or metabolism. So here in metabolism is nothing but a simple activity that is taking place at cellular level. This activity is most important for any cell because it is in this cell only several chemical reactions are taking place. It is in this cell only there are several membrane bound organelles are present like nucleus, ribosomes, mitochondria, Golgi complex, so on. See, so these membrane bound organelles are present in the cell and they are having their own distinct features and functions to be carried on. Either the feature may be anabolic or the chemical reaction which they are going to take is anabolic or catabolic. So if you recall what is anabolic and catabolic, which you have learned in your earlier classes, photosynthesis in the green leaves. We can see in the green leaf, photosynthesis process is taking place at the cellular level. In the mesophyll cells, wherein you find the chloroplasts are going to trap the solar energy and thereby using a simple carbon dioxide molecule and water molecule, they are able to form the carbohydrates. So it is nothing but the carbohydrate which is formed is because of the anabolic process, the building process, both the carbon dioxide and water, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. These are fixed and they are going to form the carbohydrate. So when this carbohydrate is formed, that is anabolic process taking place in the plants or leaves particularly is anabolic activity. Now coming to the catabolic activity, if we see catabolism, this catabolism is nothing but breakdown process. Breakdown means it has to break. What it is going to break? It is going to break the carbohydrates. At cellular level, the carbohydrate, the glucose molecule is going to split. It is going to split and form the simple substance carbon dioxide and water. So the CO2 and water are again getting separated in the catabolic activity and releasing the ATP energy. ATP energy is nothing but the energy currency in our cell. Whenever we require energy, we are going to use this ATP energy. So here we can say that this cell is very complex in nature and it is the structural and functional unit of a living organism and it is going to be the defining property. So with this, we came to know that how we can say an object is going to be a living. An object is considered to be living if it exhibits response to stimulus and metabolism or cellular organization it has. So here, next, after identifying a living organisms, we must name it because so many organisms are identified in nature. So we are going to name it. And the naming process is called nomenclature. Naming of these living organisms is called the nomenclature. Nomenclature, it must be universal acceptance, not that I name some living organisms as per my convenience in my own local language. When it is found, when I have to collect the information about that particular organism somewhere in other place, I need to ask the person regarding that organism. At the time, he may not identify what I am talking about, which organism I am talking about. For this reason, universal acceptance must be there when we are doing this nomenclature. So when this nomenclature is done, the universal acceptance must be there and naming of these plants, that too in binomial form. Binomial form means using two words. When you are using two words for giving a name, it is called binomial nomenclature. And it is given by Carolus Linnaeus. And for plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and some criteria which are provided in International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. ICBN for botanical names, that is for plant name. And so you also have ICZN, zoological names for animal names. So here you must remember what is ICBN, ICZN. ICBN is International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. Now, after identifying, after naming, we must know how to name them. Some rules, guidelines must be there. So, rules of nomenclature. Here we can see biological names are generally in Latin, written in Latin words, Latin language, and written in italics. What does this mean? This means why we are using Latin language? It is a dead language. Everyone likes their own language, mother tongue particularly, but we cannot give in our mother tongue. It will create confusion. So here we are going to have this Latin language, and that too, it is a dead language which is not in use. If it is not in use, there is no chance of getting corrupted in the words. So here, Latin language is required for giving the biological names, and that too, it must be written in italics. Italics means something like this, writing cross. Normal typing won't be there. So in italics, it has to be written. And when we are writing, we can see here the first word. The first word is going to represent the genus name. And the second word, Tigris panthera, genus, and Tigris is the specific epithet, species name. So here, two words are going to be present. One is the genus name, another one is the specific epithet. And here, when we are going to write handwritten, at that time, separately underlined. That means we have to underline them separately. So when I am going to write about Panthera, I am going to write starting with capital letter here, the genus name Panthera, and the species name Tigris in lowercase. So this is the way of writing and handwritten and underlining it. So it indicates it is a botanical name of particular organism, whether it may be a plant or animal. Now, genus must start with capital letter and species with small letter is over. Now, Homo sapiens lin. You can see here one example. I have written the scientific name of human beings, Homo sapiens lin. Homo is a generic name, as you know. Sapiens is a species name. By lin, an abbreviated form. This is the abbreviation for Linnaeus. Linnaeus is the scientist who has given this name. That's why the name of the scientist or author has to be mentioned in abbreviation form. LINN. It denotes the scientist or the author who has discovered or written the name. Next, the name must have some boundary or limit. It should not be too large, it should not be too small. It must have some boundary or limit, that is between 3 to 20 alphabets. It must be between 3 to 20 alphabets only. More than 20 alphabets, it will create confusion and very difficult to remember also, and very short, less than 2, less than 3 minutes, it is very difficult. And it will also create confusion. So 3 to 20 is the limitation for giving the binomial nomenclature or naming any living organism. Now, tautonym. Tautonym, this sounds something different, but it is same. Tautonym is nothing but same. The genus name and the species name will be same. You can see here, as in case of snake, Indian cobra. The scientific zoological name is Naja naja. Naja is the genus name. Naja is the specific name. This tautonym can be seen only in animals. It is not for plants. It is only for so for animals, and it is not given for human beings. Sorry, it is not given for plants. And another system is also there, a trinomial system of nomenclature, but it is not much in use. It is also available here. It is nothing but similar to binomial nomenclature only. The thing is that subspecies name is going to get followed. Subspecies name is followed. So in this manner, nomenclature is done. And coming to the classification, after knowing what is a living organism, you must be able to name it by following the nomenclature guidelines. Then afterwards, you have to find out where to place it, what are the similarities, because so many organisms are identified. Around lakhs of organisms are identified on this planet, whether it may be a plant or animal or microorganism. So it will be a confusion to find out one particular organism. If we categorize them, it will be very simple and easier. So we are going to categorize them based on some similarities. So you can see here, taxonomy is nothing but classification of these living organisms. And particularly the plant taxonomy is given here. Plant kingdom is there. In this plant kingdom, if we can see spore bearing plants, seed bearing plants. Spore bearing plants are the small plantlets which are seen generally, which are going to produce spores for reproduction purpose. They are going to form the spores and they'll be reproducing. And seed bearing plants, seed bearing plants, they are going to reproduce by formation of the seeds. Okay, spore bearing and seed bearing. Further, the spore bearing also we are having a thallus like algae. Thallus means mass of cells. Then afterwards, we are having the bryophytes and pteridophytes, the mosses and the ferns. The mosses and the ferns, somewhat better, they are going to have the root system, the shoot system. So they are having a plant body structure and they are also reproducing by formation of spores only. So here we'll be having the spore bearing getting categorized into algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes. And next, if we see in the seed bearing, we are seeing the flowering and conifers. So in the seed bearing, we'll see that angiosperms are there and gymnosperms. Angiosperms are nothing but they are going to have a fruit. They are going to have a fruit which is going to enclose seeds in it. That means the seeds are not naked. The seeds are present in the fruit. And this is about angiosperms. And in angiosperms also again you have monocot, dicot. Monocot means having single cotyledon. The cotyledon, the source material which is present in the seed is called cotyledon. The cotyledon may be either single or double. So single cotyledon, if you take an example, we can take rice, wheat, jawar, bajra like that, cereals. And dicotyledons, we can take examples of beans, pulses like that. Two cotyledons, 1, 2. This is single cotyledon. And you can see the another, that is the gymnosperms. These are not having any fruit formation. There is no fruit formation. Directly it is going to use the seeds. So it is becoming easier to understand what actually this organism is all about. When we find out any plantlet, we want to know what is the plant name. So we have to categorize in this order so that we can come to a conclusion whether it is a seed bearing or fruit bearing, or whether it is a spore bearing plant or whether it is a seed bearing plant. It will create an easiness in understanding the plant or the organism in particular. For this reason, taxonomy is there. So in short, we can say taxonomy is nothing but it is a branch of science that deals with identification of the organisms, then nomenclature, naming that organism, and then so this taxonomy term was given by A.P.D. Candole, and the term systematics now. It is a new one compared to the taxonomy. This is also just like taxonomy only. The thing is that in taxonomy, we'll just identify nomenclature, give the name, and then classify. But in systematics, we are going to find out the relationship. Like for example, if you are having a family tree, you'll be writing your great grandfather name, then grandfather name, then father name, then your brother, sister, your family members' names. So when you are doing so in a family tree, you frequently write all other relatives' names also. Grandfather's brother, grandfather's sister, and their children's name. Father's brother, father's sister, their children's name. Your brother, his children's name. Your sister, his children's name. Like this, so on. You are going to write a family tree. In this, you are going to compare who is the aunt, who is the uncle. You will be generally referring auntie and uncle. He's the auntie, he's the uncle. So you are going to relate the relationship here when you are writing about the uh, family tree. So the same thing, it will be easier to understand the relationship, evolutionary relationship these plants are going to have in common. So it is possible with this branch called systematics. So systematics is a study of different kinds of organisms, their diversities, and also the relationship among them. Now coming to the categories. So when we are classifying, they are at certain levels. When they are at certain levels, what are those levels called? What we call those levels? Those levels are called taxon or a rank. The taxon, the taxon is a category. The taxon is a category. For example, this is one particular category, another category, another category. So like this, several categories we are identifying. First level category, second level category, third level category. So on when we are identifying, this is considered to be as one particular taxon, one particular category or rank, which we call. So here taxon is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement. It is called taxonomic category, and all such categories or taxonomic categories together, they are going to form a hierarchy. So this hierarchy, we can see how it is there in our plants. So this is the taxonomic hierarchy. So you can see the species which we have seen so far. The species here, this species, it is the lowest taxon. Lowest taxon means whatever the organisms are present at this lowest category, they are very, very similar. The particular species are having similar characteristic features. They are very similar in their characters, fundamental characters are very same, and such type of species will be arranged at the bottom place, which are having similarities. And there may be more than one species. There may be 5, 6, 7, 8 species like this. So all these species, they cannot fall in one group. So they will be entering into this particular genus category. Under genus, we'll be having, for example, here 1, 2, 3, 4 species are there. Particular genus is having particular types of species. Further, if we keep going on like this, we'll be going, several genus will be kept in one particular family. Several families are kept in particular order. Several orders are included in class, one particular class. Several classes in particular are included in phyla. And one more important thing you have to remember, phyla is given for animal kingdom, division is given for plant kingdom. And this division is, particular divisions are included in the kingdom, that is the plant kingdom. So with this, it is clear, I think, what is a taxonomic hierarchy. Species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, kingdom. These are the different taxons here, and the smallest taxon is the species. So the species, they can interbreed among themselves. And this topic is deleted. Further, you'll be having the second class related to biological classification of plants, how the biological classification is done, on what basis biologically the organisms are classified. Then afterwards, it is going to get followed by the plant kingdom classification. So here I am going to end up this session. Thank you.